Admiral Red stood at the massive window of the Imperial Command Center, his eyes fixed on the endless sea of stars before him. His white uniform, decorated with golden badges of honor, reflected the soft blue light from the holographic displays behind him. For 10,000 years, the Empire had ruled these stars, and not a single civilization had dared to challenge their power. Until now. "Sir, we've detected another energy signature," reported Officer Davis, his voice trembling slightly as he approached with a datapad. "This is the 5th one this week." Red's face remained emotionless, but his fingers tightened around the ceremonial sword at his hip. These energy signatures had been appearing more frequently at the edge of Imperial space, like ripples in a pond before a storm. "Show me," he commanded, turning to face the main display screen. The holographic map filled the air, showing the outer territories of the Empire. Small red dots marked where the strange energy readings had been detected. They formed a pattern now, a line pointing straight toward the Empire's core worlds. Captain Smith entered the command center, his boots making soft sounds on the polished floor. Unlike the other officers who avoided discussing these disturbing signs, Smith had always been direct about his concerns. "Admiral, I've analyzed the readings," Smith said, pulling up his own data. "They matched the descriptions in the ancient texts, the ones about the exiled ones." Red's face darkened. "Captain, we've discussed this. Those are just stories to frighten children. Humanity was destroyed eons ago." "Were they?" Smith challenged, bringing up an old archive file. "Our own historical records are surprisingly empty about what actually happened. We have no proof they were destroyed. What if they survived? What if they've spent all these centuries preparing, advancing, growing stronger?" The Admiral walked to his command chair, sitting down heavily. "Even if some humans survived, they were primitive compared to us. Their technology was centuries behind ours when we cast them out. They posed no threat then, and they pose no threat now." Suddenly, all the screens in the command center flashed red. Emergency alerts blared through the speakers. Officer Davis rushed to his station, his hands flying over the controls. "Sir, massive energy spike detected in Sector 7, he shouted. "It's bigger than anything we've ever seen." The main screen showed a swirling vortex of blue energy forming near one of the Empire's major mining worlds. As they watched, something began emerging from the vortex. First one ship, then another, then dozens, then hundreds. "Impossible," Red whispered, standing up slowly. The ships were beautiful and terrifying. Their sleek designs spoke of advanced technology far beyond current Imperial standards. Their hulls gleamed with a metal the Empire's sensors couldn't even identify. But most shocking of all was the symbol clearly visible on each vessel, the ancient flag of Earth and her colonies. "Send a message to all Imperial fleets," Red ordered, his voice hoarse. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Captain Smith stood at the window now, watching as more ships continued to pour out of the vortex. His hand trembled as he pulled out an old data crystal, one he'd discovered years ago in a forgotten archive. He'd never shown it to anyone else, but he'd memorized its contents. It contained a warning, written by an Imperial officer 10,000 years ago. "If they ever return, we are doomed. We thought we were gods among the stars, but we were wrong. We tried to crush them because we feared their potential, and in doing so, we may have created our own destruction. If humanity returns, they will not be the same primitive species we banished. They will have grown, adapted, evolved. And they will remember." As if in answer to these ancient words, every communication system in the command center suddenly activated. A strong, clear voice echoed through the speakers, the first human voice heard in Imperial space for 10,000 years. "This is Admiral Stone of the Human Federation Fleet. Your long nightmare has only just begun." The human fleet hung in space like a constellation of artificial stars. Their ships, each one larger than the Empire's biggest cruisers, formed a perfect battle formation around the mining world of Centauri Prime. The planet's defensive fleet looked tiny in comparison, like insects facing giants. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Earth's Memory. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen countless stars. His black uniform bore no medals or decorations. Humanity had left such displays of pride behind long ago. "Status report," Stone ordered, his voice calm despite the historic moment. "Imperial ships are holding position," reported Commander Grant from her station. "Their weapons are charged but not locked." "They're scared, sir." Stone nodded. Fear was good. Fear meant they might listen. "Open a channel to their command center," he ordered. "Let's show them how much we've grown." The main screen lit up, showing Admiral Red's face. The Imperial officer tried to look confident, but his eyes betrayed his terror. "This is a restricted Imperial sector," Red announced, his voice shaking slightly. "Leave immediately or face destruction." Stone smiled. Not a friendly smile, but one that held 10,000 years of waiting. Interesting choice of words, Admiral. "Destruction was what you promised us last time, wasn't it? How did that work out for you?" He pressed a button on his chair. Suddenly, every Imperial screen and computer in the sector filled with ancient records, files the Empire had tried to delete long ago. They showed the truth. Humanity hadn't been merely exiled. The Empire had tried to wipe them out, fearing their rapid advancement and unwillingness to bow to Imperial rule. "We saved those files," Stone continued. "We saved everything. While you played at being gods, we grew stronger. Your ancestors thought they could break us. Instead, they forced us to become something far more powerful than they could imagine." To prove his point, Stone gave a silent command. Instantly, 50 human ships vanished from sight, their advanced cloaking technology making them completely invisible. They reappeared seconds later behind the Imperial fleet, weapons ready but not firing. The Imperial ships tried to turn and respond, but their engines suddenly shut down. Human AI systems had already hacked and disabled their propulsion. "Impossible," Red shouted. "Our systems are completely secured." "They were secured," Commander Grant corrected him, speaking for the first time, "by technology that's 10,000 years old. Did you really think we spent all that time in exile doing nothing?" Stone raised his hand, and the human ships powered down their weapons. It was a show of strength, but also of restraint. "We're not here for revenge, Admiral Red. We're here for justice, and to make sure you never threaten another species the way you threatened us." He stood up, walking closer to the screen. "You have two choices. Surrender control of this sector peacefully and prepare for negotiations, or find out exactly how much humanity has advanced since you last saw us fight." The mining world's governor appeared on a second screen, his face pale. "Admiral Red, they've completely shut down our defense systems. Their ships are unlike anything we've ever seen. We have to negotiate." Red's face showed the struggle between pride and reality. Pride lost. "We request time to contact Imperial High Command." "You have 1 hour," Stone replied. "We've waited 10,000 years. We won't wait any longer." As the communication ended, Commander Grant turned to Stone. "Do you think they'll really negotiate, sir?" Stone looked out at the stars, stars that had once been denied to humanity, but which they had reclaimed through centuries of determination and advancement. "They'll negotiate," he said firmly, "because they're beginning to understand what their ancestors never did. Humanity doesn't break. We adapt. We evolve. We return stronger." He touched a small earth pendant hanging from his neck. "And this time, we're here to stay." Admiral White stood on the bridge of the Imperial super-destroyer Empire's Glory, watching as his massive fleet gathered for battle. 5,000 ships filled the space around him, the largest Imperial force assembled in 1,000 years. Their orders were simple: destroy the human fleet and remind the galaxy why the Empire had ruled for so long. "All ships report ready, sir," said his second-in-command, Major Reed. "The planet crackers are in position." White nodded. The planet crackers were the Empire's most powerful weapons. Huge ships that could split a world in half. They had never failed before, but something about these humans made him uneasy. "Send the message," he ordered. "No mercy this time." The Imperial fleet jumped into battle formation near the human-controlled sector. But instead of finding a surprised enemy, they saw the human fleet waiting for them. Admiral Stone's ships were arranged in a strange pattern that no Imperial commander had ever seen before. "They knew we were coming," Major Reed whispered. "Of course we did." Admiral Stone's voice came through their speakers, though no one had opened a channel. "Your ships are impressive, Admiral White. In fact, they're exactly what we expected from an empire that hasn't truly advanced in 10,000 years." White's face turned red with anger. "Launch all fighters. Begin the attack." Thousands of Imperial fighters poured from their ships, filling space with weapons fire. The human fleet didn't move. They didn't even raise their shields. "Sir," Major Reed shouted, "our weapons, they're passing right through their ships, like they're not even there." Suddenly, the real human fleet appeared behind the Imperial forces. The ships they had been firing at were just holograms, perfect copies created by technology the Empire couldn't even understand. "A simple trick," Stone's voice came again. "Something we learned in our first century of exile. Would you like to see what we learned in the other 99? The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. The Imperial ships fired their best weapons, but the human vessels moved in ways that should have been impossible, their hulls protected by shields that absorbed every attack. Launch the planet crackers," White ordered in desperation. The massive planet cracker ships moved forward, their main weapons powering up. These ships had destroyed entire worlds. Surely they would work against the humans. But Stone's fleet was ready. Small devices appeared from their ships, creating a web of energy between them. When the planet crackers fired, their beams hit the web and vanished. "Impossible." White slammed his fist on his command chair. "Nothing can stop a planet cracker." "Nothing from your time," Stone corrected. "But we've had 10,000 years to study how they work. 10,000 years to learn how to defeat them." The human fleet began their counterattack. Their weapons didn't destroy the Imperial ships. Instead, they simply shut them down. Systems failed, engines died, and weapons went dark. In less than an hour, the Empire's greatest fleet floated helpless in space. "Listen carefully." Stone's voice was firm, but not cruel. "We could destroy your ships. We could kill every Imperial officer who tried to attack us. But we're not like you. We learned mercy in our exile. Surrender now, and your crews will live." White looked at his dead controls, at his powerless weapons, at his defeated fleet. The Empire had taught that humans were primitive, weak creatures who needed to be destroyed. How wrong they had been. We surrender," he said quietly. As escape pods launched from the Imperial ships, carrying crews to safety, Major Reed turned to White. "Sir, what do we do now?" White watched as human ships began helping the escape pods, making sure every Imperial crew member was safe. "We learn, Major. We learn what the Empire should have learned 10,000 years ago. Sometimes, the ones you think are weak become the strongest of all." The Battle of New Dawn, as it would be called, lasted less than 2 hours. The Empire's greatest fleet was defeated without a single death on either side. It showed the galaxy two important things: humanity's power and humanity's mercy. Both would change the Empire forever. Lieutenant Tom Walker moved silently through the dark halls of the Imperial Archives. After the Battle of New Dawn, the Empire had opened some of their facilities to human observers. Walker's job was to find the truth about humanity's past, but the Empire hadn't made it easy. "Anything on Level 3? Commander Grant's voice came through his small communicator. "Nothing yet," he whispered back. "But they're hiding something. These archives are too empty." He reached a large door marked Restricted Section, Imperial Authority only. His human tech made quick work of the lock. Inside, the room was filled with old data crystals covered in dust. No one had been here in centuries. Found something, he reported, picking up a crystal that looked different from the others. It was older, its case marked with Earth's ancient symbol. Walker plugged the crystal into his portable reader. The screen lit up with files the Empire had tried to erase. As he read, his hands began to shake. "Commander," his voice was tight with anger. "You need to see this. The Empire. They didn't just try to exile us. They tried to kill us all." The files told the true story. 10,000 years ago, humanity had been peaceful explorers, making friends with other species, but they learned too quickly, advanced too fast. The Empire saw them as a threat. They attacked Earth first. Walker read from the files. No warning, no mercy. They thought they could wipe us out in one strike. More files appeared on his screen. They showed the Empire's real plan. They had meant to destroy Earth completely. But humanity had been prepared. They had hidden ships, colonies, and technology that the Empire didn't know about. "Sir," a new voice came through his communicator. "We found more archives on other worlds. They all showed the same thing. The Empire has been lying to everyone, even their own people." Walker downloaded everything he could find. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. The Empire hadn't just attacked humanity. They had erased the truth afterward. They had changed their own history, teaching their people that humans had been savage creatures who needed to be exiled. Suddenly, alarms started ringing through the archive. "Warning, unauthorized access detected. Walker, get out of there," Commander Grant ordered. "Imperial guards are coming." But Walker wasn't done. He had found one last file, a personal log from an Imperial scientist who had opposed the attack on Earth. The scientist had written, "We were wrong about them. Humans aren't a threat because they're dangerous. They're a threat because they're different. They don't think like us. When we push them down, they get back up stronger. When we try to break them, they'd rebuild better than before. We didn't exile them. We forced them to become something new." The door burst open. Imperial guards rushed in, weapons ready. But Walker just smiled and held up an empty hand. "Looking for this?" He pointed to his head, where he had already uploaded all the files through his neural link. Another piece of human technology the Empire didn't understand. The guards couldn't stop him from transmitting everything he had found. Within minutes, the truth was spreading across every Imperial world. Citizens saw what their leaders had hidden. They learned how their empire had tried to destroy a peaceful species out of fear. Back on the human flagship, Admiral Stone watched as the information spread. "How are they taking it?" he asked Commander Grant. "Just as we expected," she replied. "The Empire's own people are shocked. Many don't want to believe it, but the evidence is too clear. The Empire's lies are falling apart." Stone nodded. "Truth is humanity's most powerful weapon. We didn't just survive their attack. We preserved our history, our knowledge, our values. And now everyone will know what really happened." Walker's discovery had changed everything. The Empire couldn't hide anymore. Their greatest crime had finally been exposed, and their own people were beginning to question everything they had been taught. The truth, hidden for 10,000 years, was finally free. The great hall of the human flagship, Earth's Memory, had never been so crowded. Representatives from 20 different species filled the room, each of them former subjects of the Empire. They had come seeking something they had never had before: freedom. Admiral Stone stood at the front of the hall, looking at the gathered aliens. The builder species were easy to spot with their tall, metallic bodies that gleamed under the lights. Next to them stood the Seekers, known throughout the galaxy for their brilliant minds and strategic thinking. Other species filled the remaining space, each bringing their own strengths and hopes. "The Empire called us primitives," Stone began, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "They said the same about many of you. But look at us now." The main screen behind him showed images from across Imperial space. After Walker had revealed the truth about humanity's past, many worlds had risen up against the Empire. Imperial ships were deserting their posts. Entire systems were declaring their independence. The builder leader stepped forward. Unlike humans, builders were made of living metal, their bodies constantly changing and adapting. "We have watched your battles." The builder's voice rang with a metallic tone. "You defeated the Empire's greatest fleet without destroying a single ship. This is why we are here." "Not just for the victories," added the Seeker representative, her 8 eyes blinking thoughtfully, "but for how you achieved them. You showed mercy when you had every reason for revenge." Stone nodded. "Because we learned something important during our exile. True strength isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about making them into friends." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed plans for a new organization, the Alliance of Free Worlds. Under these plans, every species would have an equal voice. No one would rule over the others. For 10,000 years, the Empire told everyone they were the only ones who could maintain order in the galaxy. Stone continued. "They were wrong. Together, we can build something better." The builder leader raised a hand, their metal fingers reshaping themselves into a sign of agreement. "The builders join your alliance. We will share our technology." The Seekers join as well, their representative added. "Our strategic knowledge is yours." One by one, the other species pledged themselves to the alliance. Each brought something unique. The wing people with their mastery of atmospheric flight, the deep ones with their underwater cities and ocean technology, the crystal mines with their advanced communication systems. As the meeting continued, Commander Grant entered the hall quickly. "Admiral, we're getting reports from across Imperial space. The Empire's grip is falling apart. Their own citizens are demanding change." Stone turned to the gathered representatives. "This is our chance. The Empire is weakening, but they're still dangerous. Together, we can end their rule and build a free galaxy." The builder leader stepped forward again. "We have already begun. Our factories are adapting your ship designs, making them even better. The Seekers are improving your battle strategies. The wing people are training pilots in new flight techniques. And humanity will share everything we learned in exile." Stone promised. "Our technology, our knowledge, our experience, it all belongs to the Alliance now." The hall erupted in cheers and sounds of agreement from 20 different species. The builder leader's body shifted, creating a perfect replica of the Alliance symbol they had just created. As the meeting ended, Commander Grant approached Stone. "Do you think it will work, sir? So many different species working together." Stone smiled, watching as the representatives mingled, already sharing ideas and making plans. "Look at them, Grant. The Empire spent 10,000 years keeping them apart, making them think they needed Imperial rule to survive. But they're already proving the Empire wrong." The Alliance was born that day, turning humanity's return into something even bigger. A chance for every species to be free. The Empire's nightmare was growing, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The combined fleet of the Alliance filled the space around Imperial Center, the Empire's capital world. Human ships flew alongside builder vessels that shifted and changed shape like liquid metal. Seeker craft moved in perfect formation, while wing people fighters danced between larger vessels with impossible grace. Captain Mary Hughes stood on the bridge of her stealth ship, Silent Arrow, watching as the final battle was about to begin. Her ship was one of 50 chosen for the most important mission of the war. "All teams report ready," her first officer, Jack Miller, announced. "The builder upgrades to our stealth systems are working perfectly." Hughes nodded. "The Empire won't know what hit them." Status of their defense network. The Empire's last defense was a ring of massive stations around their capital, each one bristling with weapons. They had never been breached in 10,000 years. But today was different. "Admiral Stone's fleet is moving into position," Miller reported. "The Empire's entire remaining fleet is here. They're making their final stand." High above them, Admiral Stone watched from Earth's memory as the Empire's ships formed up. Their formation was perfect, Just as the Seekers had predicted, the Empire always followed the same strategies they had used for millennia. "Begin the attack," Stone ordered. "Show them what the Alliance can do." The battle started with builder ships morphing into perfect copies of Imperial vessels, confusing the enemy's targeting systems. Winged people fighters struck from impossible angles, using flight patterns the Empire had never seen. Seeker vessels predicted and countered every Imperial move before it happened. But the real surprise was yet to come. "Launch the AI network," Stone commanded. Thousands of small devices shot out from the Alliance ships, creating a web of light between them. This was humanity's greatest invention, an AI system that could think faster than any computer the Empire had ever built. The Imperial defense stations fired their weapons, but the AI predicted every shot. Alliance shields shifted and moved, guided by the AI's perfect calculations. Not a single Alliance ship was hit. "Captain Hughes," Stone's voice came through on a secure channel. "Begin your run." The Silent Arrow and its sister ships activated their stealth systems, enhanced by builder technology. They slipped past the Imperial defenses like ghosts, completely invisible. Inside the Imperial Palace, alarms began to sound. They had detected something, but it was too late. Hughes and her team were already inside the defensive ring. "Deploy the override codes," Hughes ordered. Lieutenant Walker's discoveries in the Imperial archives had included something priceless: the original control codes for the defense network. The Empire had never changed them, believing their old systems were secure. Hughes's team transmitted the codes. One by one, the massive defense stations went dark. Their weapons powered down. Their shields failed. 10,000 years of Imperial might, defeated by their own overconfidence. "Defense network is down," Miller shouted. "The path to the capital is clear." Stone's voice echoed across all Alliance channels. "All ships, move in. Remember, we disable, not destroy. Show them the difference between conquest and liberation." The Alliance fleet surged forward. Imperial ships, cut off from their command network, began to surrender. The defense stations, their crews realizing they were defenseless, powered down their remaining systems. On the Silent Arrow, Hughes watched as Alliance ships surrounded the Imperial Palace. "It's really happening," she whispered. "We're actually going to win." "Not just win," Miller corrected her. "We're going to change everything." The Empire spent 10,000 years teaching everyone they were the only ones who could rule. Today we proved them wrong. The battle for Imperial Center lasted less than 3 hours. When it was over, the Empire's capital had fallen without a single building destroyed or life lost. The Alliance's victory wasn't just military, it was moral. As Hughes looked down at the Imperial Palace, now under Alliance control, she remembered something Admiral Stone had said at the start of the war. The Empire's greatest mistake wasn't trying to destroy us. It was teaching us how to come back stronger. The Imperial Palace's Grand Hall looked very different now. Where once only Imperial officials had walked, representatives from every species in the galaxy now gathered. The Alliance had spent 3 months preparing for this day, the signing of the Galactic Concordat and the birth of a new era. Admiral Stone stood at the entrance, watching as the hall filled. The builder leader's metallic form shifted with excitement, creating patterns of light across their surface. The Seeker representatives moved gracefully to their seats, their multiple eyes taking in every detail. Even former Imperial officers were present, their once proud uniforms modified to show their support for the new alliance. "Everything is ready, sir," Commander Grant reported, checking her tablet. "All 57 species are represented. Even the deep ones came up from their ocean worlds for this." Stone smiled. Times really have changed. A year ago, most of these species weren't allowed to speak to each other. Now they're helping build a new government together. The ceremony began with Captain Hughes and Lieutenant Walker bringing in the Concordat, a document that would transform the galaxy. Its rules were simple but powerful. All species would have equal rights, all would share in decision-making, and none would ever rule over the others. 10,000 years ago, Stone began his speech. The Empire tried to destroy humanity because they feared what we might become. They spent millennia telling everyone that their rule was the only thing keeping the galaxy from chaos. He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes, optical sensors, and visual organs of dozens of different species. They were wrong. Look around you. See what we've built together in just a few months. This isn't chaos. This is true order, born from cooperation instead of fear. The builder leader stepped forward, their body forming into a shape that represented unity, a gift from their artistic tradition. The builders lived under imperial rule for 8,000 years. We were told our only purpose was to build their ships and stations. Now we create what we choose and share our gifts freely. The Seeker representative spoke next. The Empire kept us isolated, using our strategic minds only for their benefit. Now we share our knowledge with all and learn from others in return. One by one, representatives from every species spoke. Each had a story of oppression, and each now had hope for a better future. Even the former Imperial officers spoke, admitting their past wrongs and pledging to help build something better. Finally, it was time to sign. Stone pressed his hand to the document first, followed by representatives from every species. The builder leader formed a special appendage just for signing. The deep ones used their waterproof markers. The wing people signed with their traditional flight patterns. As the last signature was added, the hall erupted in celebration. Builder ships outside created fantastic light shows. Wing people pilots performed their most beautiful flight dances. Seeker musicians played songs that hadn't been heard in public for thousands of years. What happens now? Commander Grant asked Stone quietly. Now the real work begins, he replied. The Empire ruled through force and fear for 10,000 years. We have to show everyone a better way. He looked out at the celebrating crowd. Humans talked with builders about new ship designs. Seekers taught wing people their strategic games. Former Imperial scientists shared their research with everyone. The Empire's nightmare wasn't just that humanity would return, Stone said. Their real nightmare was that we'd come back with a better way to run the galaxy. And that's exactly what we did. The celebration continued as the sun set on Imperial Center, though it would soon be renamed Unity World. The old empire was gone, but something new and better was taking its place. Humanity had returned not for revenge, but to help create a future where no species would ever face what they had faced. The galaxy's new dawn had finally arrived, and its light would shine for everyone.